Tonight on the Cover One Buffalo podcast, we are talking to everyone's favorite comp pick guy and also a Denver Broncos fan, our guy, Nick Korte. But first, our guys, Handsome Jack.
Broadcasting live to Bills Mafia Worldwide with Greg Tompsett and Aaron Quinn.
Welcome to the NFL. Doesn't matter what's happened before today. Today's a brand new day. It's a brand new season.
Your number one podcast for objective Buffalo Bills coverage. No matter where you are, we got you covered.
Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You're joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, it's the divisional round. How we doing?
I'm okay this week. It's a weird turn because last week I was so confident, right? And I was even trying to drag you along with me all throughout the week.
We've weirdly switched a little bit. I was more anxious last week than I am this week, and I can't really explain why. Because the Broncos defense is better, the Jaguars offense was better, but they're both, good teams. This is a tougher environment. It's a better coach. I think there are reasons to be more concerned about Denver, and for some reason, I'm slightly more calm. Maybe the fact that we got the win and we didn't get eliminated in the wild card round, and now all the injuries, it's almost kind of freeing of well, screw it. We're gonna have to figure out some way, but it's lessened some of the pressure because it's so comically weird with the injuries.
I will say, this is the first time I've ever hopped on a show, and I don't know. When you asked me my prediction, I haven't come to that yet. I don't have anything written down here. I usually have it written down right here. I don't have it yet. I'm still thinking it through. So
I've got it
by the time it comes in.
It's a goofy number on purpose. I've got it.
It'd probably be a goofy game, so that makes sense.
So without further ado, I am going to bring up our guest for the evening. Many of you know him, but many of you know him as the resident comp pick expert on Twitter, or his help over the cap, one of the better cap guys that I know, but also a big time Broncos guy. So we will bring on our guy, Nick Korte. How we doing, Nick?
Good, Greg. How are you doing?
Good. Doing very well. It's kind of fun. Obviously, the Bills have had a nice little run here for a while. This is now the sixth straight season with a playoff win, but haven't been able to cash it in, haven't been able to get to the Super Bowl. The weird combination of probably the least hallowed field in the AFC because of the more traditional powers, but also maybe one of the more questionable supporting casts and rosters on the Bills. So all those things at weird different times, it's been a little bit weird. Tell us a little bit about where Broncos fans at. It's been a really fun season, really cool win streak there for a while, maybe a bit of a wake-up call with that Jags game, but you still fully earned the 1 seed, the best, if not, are at worst top 3 defense in the league, one of the most intimidated home field advantages. Where are Broncos fans' heads at with the vibe around the team and expectations now coming in with this coming off the bye?
Yeah, I think it feels good. I think there's a little anxiety, wanting to get maybe bigger wins than they've gotten in the past. It's been close games for the most part, couple exceptions here like Dallas many weeks ago. Obviously the Jacksonville loss was a big wake-up call. All good things have to come to an end at a point. And then when you guys
beat yourselves more in that game than Jacksonville beat you.
Say that again.
I'm still convinced that the Broncos beat themselves a little more in that game than Jacksonville won that game.
I'd probably say it's about 50-50. Jacksonville's a good team. I think you and Bills Mafia saw that last week. It was a hard-fought win for Buffalo. So, I think it was a wake-up call. And then, with their last 2 games, it was against the zombie Chiefs. Their season was kind of over. Then the Chargers were
backups.
They were kind of shutting things down. Trying to prepare for. They apparently wanted New England, and New England gave it to them. So So I think Denver played it very vanilla in those two games, knowing what the competition was going to be, and to try to save their best for the playoffs here. And we'll see what they throw against Buffalo. It's going to be a really difficult opponent coming up, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the last time we saw these teams, I actually got a chance to go to the game. I'd never, all my years of a Bills fan, never been to a playoff game, so that was fun. Yeah. Nice. I'm assuming that has loomed large over the Broncos being exited from the playoffs in the manner that they were in the wild card. I know it was their kind of first year and you're getting in there, but to get beat in that fashion, is that kind of, the theme around this week is sort of the revenge game of making up for that exit last year?
I mean, I don't know if I get a real revenge factor, I think among the fan base, it was ending a lot of suffering over 8 straight years out of the playoffs. For Denver, that's very unusual. And so to finally get that monkey off the back was good. They kept it close until about the third quarter, as I recall. They just couldn't really move the ball, and then Buffalo finally took over there. So I get the feeling that the attitude is that this is a different year, different situation. And, in Denver now, they've come a long way, moving on to where they are. So yeah, I feel like the vibes are different, probably, more ambitious, optimistic, but I think everyone knows that the Bills are a very good contender, and this is going to be a tough game to win.
So as we look at, some of the matchups coming into this game and try to figure out what's going to go on, Aaron will talk about, what Sean Payton does with Bo Nix and those guys here. This defense is terrifying. Like I've gone through, and it's hard. Like we could talk forever because there's so many different fun guys to talk through. And for anyone who didn't check it out, make sure you look at the session that Aaron did with Cody Alexander, kind of breaking down a lot of the guys here that, I'm going to start up front because I think that obviously Patrick Surtain being the defensive player of the year last year, and even some of the newer additions like Kafunga, I think that they get a lot of attention here, but there are so many weapons up front. And I think, Benito rightfully has started to get more attention, but all it's done is solidify the fact that I think Zach Allen is the most underrated defender in the league. It's sacrilege to say what I'm about to say, but he's kind of JJ Watt-ish. It's not that level. JJ Watt's an all-time player, but that combination of size and power and being able to play with the violence that he plays with, the most total pressures of any interior defender in the league, 73. 73 total pressures is such a ridiculous season. He's not quite Max Crosby level of how much he's on the field and plays, but just consistently disruptive. Obviously I know that there's a lot of attention around Benito and Cooper and what they bring off the edge, but Zach Allen is just a monster. How have they used that this year to really create this overall just constant havoc they're causing up front?
Yeah, no, I agree. He's had the Baby Watt nickname in some quarters there. You can see a lot of the similarities there. I think the front is just very deep. It's something that they've really emphasized, and you named a lot of the big stars there: Allen, Benito, Cooper. But George Payton and Sean Payton have done a really good job of getting deep in both veteran and rookie talent. John Franklin Myers was a key trade from a
lot of Bills fans know him from the Jets. We saw him consistently. They're always being disruptive.
They seem to draft edges all the time. Jonah Ellis, Q Robinson this draft. They picked up Dondrea Tillman as a free agent. So those edges are going to be coming in frequently and rotating to keep Benito and Cooper fresh. I feel like ideally they only get a little more than half the snaps because they're so deep there. Malcolm Roach in the interior was an underrated player they extended. So just really deep right there. And I think that provides the biggest challenge for opposing offenses.
It's been super annoying. You guys repeatedly over the past couple of years have plucked the guys that Cover One has zeroed in on as like our free agent targets. Like a couple of years ago, we wanted Malcolm Roach, then we wanted DJ Jones, and like you guys kept plucking the same guys that we were interested in being able to bring in. It's been super annoying. So as we move back here, I think it's kind of funny. Aaron had his crazy viral tweet joking about the Broncos have Patrick Surtain to lock down number one wide receivers, and Brandon Beane's playing 4D chess. We don't have a number one wide receiver. So I've asked this in a couple other settings. Do you think we'll see them break some of the tendencies? I think it's to the Bills' benefit to be like, hey, just go run wind sprints with Brandon Cooks down the field. We'll just kind of clear you out and do other things. Maybe not every down, but on obvious passing downs, third downs, do you think we'll see them break some of the tendency? Maybe align him with, Dalton Kincaid. I know they did some of that with Brock Bowers, maybe even Khalil Shakir. Do you think we'll see some of that where they maybe move him around a little bit and play some different games with Surtain?
Yeah, I'm really intrigued on how they're going to use all their defensive backs in this game because, just looking at the injury report and the depth chart, it just looks like the Bills are so decimated at wide receiver, but yet so deep at tight end. I could see a lot of 12, 13 personnel thrown at Denver, especially when you combine that with the running game, which I'm sure we'll talk about. I could see Surtain just blanketing Shakir. I could see him, helping out against a Kincaid or a Knox. I'll be curious to see how the rookie Jahdae Barron plays. He's had a kind of a lot of slot tight end type duty to pick up. And I think a big thing to watch is Brandon Jones, the starting free safety, is likely out for the year. PJ Locke will play in his relief, and he was a starter before, so he's had that experience. But I think if there was a weakness to exploit in that Denver backfield, look to see what they do in free safety there. Look all to see how much they use Hufanga. He's usually been more of the more of the strong safety up in the box type guy, but we'll see if they get a bit more creative, to help out Locke and whoever else they play out there at safety.
So obviously there's not a ton of weaknesses per se on this Denver team, but if you are going to lean on something, it's been, trying to work heavy with heavy personnel, 12 personnel, 22 personnel, run heavy, hit with play action, try to stick in the middle of the field, try to get maybe the linebackers in coverage here, which is a little bit easier when it was Justin Strnad. Do you think we're going to see Dre Greenlaw back? Does it sound like he's going to play? And then how do you think they mix that in? Obviously expecting Singleton to continue with his play. Do you think they'll just simply swap Greenlaw right back in, or do you think they'll do some kind of situational platoon with those guys?
Yeah, I've seen he's been consistently limited on the injury report. Indications are he's going to play. The question is how many snaps. I feel like he and Strnad will be pretty balanced there, and Singleton will probably take his lion's share as he does. But yeah, the backer is it is a question there. We'll see how the depth goes right there. They might bring in a practice squad elevation or such. But that's going to be another big factor when you not just in the passing game, but also in the running game that the Bills are definitely capable of throwing at them.
Let's switch it over to this offensive side of the ball. We talked earlier about what that performance looked like against the Bills last time, but this feels, even though it's most of the same parts, it feels like a very different offense, and Bo Nix has a better sort of understanding of this offense now, 2 years in with Sean Payton. But one thing that kind of stands out to me when I look at the data and I match it to the film on this one is this offensive line, probably, adjusted line yards has them as the adjusted sack rate. Is their number one in adjusted sack rate. Bo Nix has been sacked only 4.4% of dropbacks this season. In spite of that, they still have one of the highest rates of 3 and outs on 26% of their drives and in 3 and outs. what is that sort of disconnect between getting protection, giving Bo Nix the time to make those looks, but not converting on some of these drives?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I don't know if I have a specific answer to that. The offensive line protection is good, and Bo Nix is himself very good at avoiding sacks. I think that's why Sean Payton focused on him so much when he drafted him. I think sometimes that can work to a detriment to Nix if he gets, a little anxious and wanting to avoid that sack, wanting to avoid that negative play, and sometimes the connection doesn't come through to the receiver like it should. I think he's also been, the receivers have also struggled a little bit with drops. They're a little bit young there beyond Sutton. Troy Franklin's in his second year. Pat Bryant's a rookie. Mims has not really developed as much as a, full-blown offensive player. They've had him more on specialty type plays. So there's some greenness in that wide receiver room. And I also think the Broncos still have not had a really reliable tight end to focus on. I think that would be a big outlet if it existed.
I expected a bigger season out of Ingram when he was added for Peyton. I was like, oh man, these are really going to use him. And he was fine, but I expected a bigger season.
Yeah, he hasn't been terrible, but I think the lack of versatility, between him versus Troutman, they kind of had their specialized roles. They don't really have that true mismatch player in both, the passing and the blocking to, really create those type of mismatches that maybe Sean Payton had back in the days of, Jimmy Graham or such.
It's weird too, because I look at this offensive line and they're really good in pass protection. They also should be built for the run game, right? And I think adjusted line yards, again, from FTN Fantasy, has them at 7th in adjusted line yards, but running back is 13th. Power success is 28th. Stuff percentage is 18th. So, and even just DVOA, I think, is like right in the middle of the pack in the NFL, 19th offensive rush. Is that just the Dobbins injury? Is that scheme? And also on the Dobbins injury, is he back this week?
I do not believe he'll be back this week. I think if the Broncos win this game, opening the 21-day window will be free at that point, since Super Bowl's less than 21 days. I feel like the Super Bowl might be the only game Dobbins will play, but we'll see. I think it's certainly been a factor. I think, Dobbins is a veteran that was very, well-rounded in all phases of the game. I think when you look at RJ Harvey, you mentioned DVOA and DER. I believe that he has not done well as a runner, but as a receiving running back, he's done quite well, which is a nice add on there. But I'm kind of hoping to see Jaleel McLaughlin take a few more carries to see what they can do with him. He's got his own specialties as well. Yeah, I think it is. And the other thing I'm really curious about is, my understanding is it looks like the Bills have struggled defending the run. So I'll be curious to see what Sean Payton could exploit there. And it may be something that none of us have seen yet.
Yeah. And
Don't get too excited. We went from historically bad to now just bad.
Just regular bad. But I know Broncos fans get frustrated. He is gonna run the ball even if it's not working successfully.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to stick with that, right? So you're gonna see some chances at it. Either way, he's gonna try to attack this Bills defense. I like to, when I'm doing this, is kind of put my hat on the other one, on the other side of the coordinator here, and look at how things can be attacked. And when I look at this matchup with the Bills defense and the Broncos offense, and you look at that, like the pass charts and stuff for Bo Nix, and how Buffalo likes to take the top off and keep everything underneath, that seems to be kind of actually how Denver wants to play in the Sean Payton offense, right? They want to take that short stuff, keep moving the ball down the field, stuff like that. But with an injury at safety and a young player probably playing in Jordan Hancock, we also know Bo Nix has a big arm, and they are going to push the ball down the field. Is that sort of just like the bring those DBs up and take the short stuff and then take a few shots over? Is that kind of the path to beating this Bills defense, you think, for Sean Payton and the Broncos?
It's certainly a possibility. I'm not as familiar with the safety depth as you guys are right there. Obviously, if Poyer is out, that will hurt. I don't know if DeMar Hamlin will be back either.
It's not looking good. Poyer is out, at least it sounded like Sean McDermott. It hasn't been official, but he did say that early in the week. And then Hamlin hasn't been taken off. I know he's been at practice, but I don't think he's been totally opened up yet.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely, he'll look for any way to exploit like any good offensive coach will. I do think, Sean Payton offense is going to be those specialties and those short type of throws. So I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. And I'll be really eager to see how McDermott reacts to that as well. One question I have, shifting a little bit, is Ed Oliver expected to play?
That's the question of the day. If you asked him, yes. I don't know what the trainers are going to say.
Yeah.
My gut is that it's going to be a very targeted usage, like that he'll be active, but it's like, hey, here's 15 key snaps. We want you to play obvious pass rush downs, stuff like that. I think it's going to be pretty limited on what they tried to do, but I will say, he was in the full contact. He wasn't in non-contact jersey. He seemed to be moving pretty well at practice. Had his speaking of JJ Watt, had a JJ Watt full arm sleeve crazy crazy brace on his arm. So my gut is that they're going to try, but pretty limited, not like a full run of snaps, and it'll be just targeted situational use.
Yeah. Sounds like what the Broncos might do with Dre Greenlaw.
I was going to say, somebody just brought that. I was going to ask you, is Dre Greenlaw going to play?
I think he probably will, but like we said, probably on a snap count. I think
mixed with
we're trying to think of the same way as I am with Oliver right there. I'll be really curious to see what snaps Oliver does play and how that would help. What liabilities do you think that would help on the Bills defense if he were to play?
Well, I think that you brought up how hard it is to get to Bo Nix because of how quickly he gets the ball out and how low his sack percentage was this year. So obviously with stuff like that, either you have to have free rushers that you just schemed it, that it's just literally a straight run and you can get there before he gets it, or it has to be from the defensive tackle where you're winning quickly. And Ed doesn't do that across the board, but he's our best chance of just straight up winning a one-on-one, getting that quick step by a guard and being in the quarterback's face immediately. And whether it's a sack or whether it's just forcing a quick throwaway because of heating him up quickly, we don't have that other guy. It's everything else is schemed up stuff or compression sacks where we're having the coverage and just compressing the pocket. And we have those guys who can press it, but we don't have the guy who can win the one-on-one to take advantage of it and flush him into into Rousseau or Bosa. And getting him back would make that difference.
Even last year, I think the difference he made in that game was sort of what you said, Greg. And then they had Milano on some of that odd mirror stuff because Bo Nix has the legs to really hurt a defense like the Bills. So
super sneaky athletic.
You have to do some of that odd mirror, but in order for that to work, he has to get flushed, and I think that interior rush assists that.
Yeah. One other thing I will add is the Broncos will be starting their backup center in this game. He was Bo Nix's center at Oregon, so there's some familiarity there. And Alex Forsyth, I think we're pretty hopeful, optimistic that he'll play well in relief of Wattenberg, but that's something to keep an eye on when you look at interior pressure.
Yeah, well, and what a strength that offensive line has been, that any changes to that can throw that off. Yeah. So without further ado, we'll put you on the spot here. Let us know, what kind of game do you expect this week, and give us a score prediction.
I'm thinking, all of the odds have had this very close. A pick 'em either way. It's been kind of going back and forth, and I feel like that's about where I would have to. Can't pick against the Broncos. I would feel like it's going to be, I think, probably an average score. I think both teams will get their shots in. I'll go Denver 23-20.
I think it's that kind of game for sure. I think it's going to be super competitive. I'm probably even a little lower scoring than you are, but
what's the over under on what's Vegas? What's Vegas have? It's got to be close to that, right? 45, 46?
It's a little higher, but it's not a ton higher. I think it's right there, 45.5. So they're technically predicting like 24, 22, 24, 21.
Both Peyton and Brady want to truncate this game and have long sustained drives.
Few possessions, just bet that the other team can't put together this sustained success. So they're going to dare the other team to just, hey, we bet you can't do it as often as we can. Like that's what it's going to come down to. Obviously I think they might take a shot with Franklin here or there just to see if they can hit one. But I think that for the most part, it's going to be that sustained drive setup. So, Nick, for any other Bills fans, you guys will recognize Nick from his work right over the cap and all the pieces there. We were joking pre-show that the Bills don't have a whole lot of comp pick bingo coming up this year, but maybe some contracts to watch here in free agency, setting up going into next year, coming off that way. So, appreciate all your work there. You're always our go-to guy for that, and looking forward to hopefully a fun and entertaining game. And similar, I meant it as much as I did the week before. I think whoever wins this game has a real nice shot to be able to make a run here and to be able to go have a fun finish to the season. So let's hope at least one of us is happy at the end of this.
One last thing, Nick, too. Congratulations. I've done a lot of these shows. I try to avoid fan bases, but I always see it. Broncos fans are nice. So I like that about this match. It's like I'm not seeing any jerks on the internet. Like people are just kind of coming in and having good conversations about this game. It's kind of a weird thing, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, the closest we've had to beef is arguing who's believed in less and who's more of an underdog. That's like the most competitive that we've gotten so far.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way about Bills fans. I feel both our fan bases are just really top 10 and just real down to earth, local, knowledgeable about their football teams. So definitely get the same vibes.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. Appreciate your time very much. We'll talk soon. Hopefully we have a fun season and we'll connect here in the off season.
Hey, thank you so much. Always good to talk.
Hey, thanks for your time, Nick.
All right. So obviously a ton of fun, I think, between Nick and Cody Alexander and with Ben Albright. I think we've really brought a lot of folks to Bills fans here for a great look at this week. And make sure you check it out again. Make sure to check out the awesome breakdown that Aaron did with Cody Alexander. And I had a chance to talk with Ben Albright, and we put that up earlier today. So make sure you check those out as well. And I think all of them had pretty similar vibes here. There wasn't a ton difference in a lot of the commentary there. I know in the talk earlier, Ben was really hoping that they would give Jaleel McLaughlin a better shot because of how well he's looked in the run game, hoping that they're a little more adventurous with Patrick Surtain, putting him on Kincaid in some of those key third downs. They did that with Brock Bowers, just use some creativity here and pull out some things that maybe they haven't before. And I can't, my biggest thing is I value Sean Payton a lot. I think he's a really smart coach. He's won a championship. He's led teams to some pretty consistent success. I think he's, one of the most historically bad calls in playoff history by the refs, away from having 2 Super Bowls. And I think that I believe in him a lot. I'm really curious what Bo Nix is ready for, and that I don't love we had to put so many of those disguise coverages on film last week because I believe in Peyton and what he's going to be able to do. I'm not sure I'm ready to believe that Bo Nix is ready to decipher that pre-snap Polaroid to what he sees post-snap.
I think it's going to be tough on him. But again, what they want to do isn't so last week. The reason I was so confident in that matchup was the way Jacksonville played defense played right into how Buffalo wants to play offense, right? Buffalo wants to take what the defense gives them. Even if you eliminate the run game, they can kind of, Joe Brady talks about, you have the screen game as an extension of the run game. So you can still sort of make up for it in those ways. And Buffalo wanted to sustain long drives and keep Jacksonville on the field. So all that made sense to me. This week, it's the other side of the ball. The side of the ball I had sort of makes sense in how Sean Payton would like to play the game, I think, plays right into what Buffalo wants to allow teams to do, which is take the underneath stuff, right? Buffalo's design is to limit those big plays. Even though Franklin got one on him last year, he didn't see much more after that one that he got early in that game. They want to take the top off the defense and keep it all underneath and rally and tackle. And that's kind of how Peyton wants to play this game. And so if Bo Nix can stay patient, take that stuff underneath, I think that they can move the ball up and down. I think that they'll probably have opportunities to have a little more run success than they've had in past years if he can stick to running the ball. And so those are some of the things that concern me. But that stat I brought up is real. They do go 3 and out quite a bit for a team that is as good as they are. And so they're going to punt the ball over to you. They're going to give you some shorter drives that give Josh Allen
trust their defense.
Yeah, and they're going to trust their defense to get stops. And so that's one of the things that, again, last week I felt more confident because the matchup played more into the hands. The other thing is they play a lot of man defense. And before the injuries of the Buffalo Bills wide receivers have struggled to get open and against man defense. And so that's going to be an interesting thing to see how Brady schemes up some of those looks. I do think James Cook will be more actively involved in this game, even though they have a really good run defense. I think the Bills can probably attack it on the edges. We saw a little bit more of that. They had a really good run defense last year, and James Cook was still heavily involved in that playoff game. And so I think you'll see more of that from Cook here. But man, I'm still sort of torn on this matchup, just in the way Nick was. Like I think I'm kind of close to where he was.
Yeah, I'm just below there. I do think that the sustained drive thing is real. I think that there's going to be a lot of long sustained drives. I also think this Broncos defense is really good, so I am worried about our red zone efficiency. I also think that Peyton's going to settle for 3 on situations because he's going to trust their defense and take the points. And I think we end up seeing something like a not that entertaining game, but like 1916, where it's, like a bunch of field goals. And I think that, I do think the Bills can pull this out. I do think the Bills are going to win. I don't think it's going to be a fun game or a pretty game. I think this is going to be an ugly game where, obviously it's cliche, but like if either team turns the ball over and gives up a short field or God forbid a defensive touchdown, like that's it. That team's going to win. Like there's just not going to be that many opportunities here. And I think that it's going to take some work, and we're going to need Prater's quad to stay healthy.
For sure. I've been just dealing with this all day trying to predict this game. I don't know why I'm taking this so hard on myself. Everything about this, I did my work. Like I looked at this matchup, and like everything inside of me as an analyst is saying to pick the Broncos in this one, right? Like short week. I hate the way the NFL schedules these games. There should always be a full week separation.
Oh, you mean 13 days rest versus 6 days rest? Is that an advantage?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It shouldn't be this way. All the AFC games should be played on the same day. All the NFC games should be played on the same day. You don't give a team that's already got an advantage even more of an advantage. But the Bills now have to travel again after a very physical game the week before where they lost a lot of players, and the players that everyone's hurt this time of year. Like you come through a physical game like that, everybody's dinged up a little bit. You're traveling to a high altitude place with a dinged up team. There's just a lot that tells me this game shouldn't go the Bills' way. But my wife told me, and I got to preface this, that she's constantly giving me a hard time for being a homer. She's like, you're such a homer. And I'm like, dude, I'm really not. Like, I'll show you some real homers on the internet if you want to see the real homers. Like, I try to remain somewhat objective here. And I told her I was thinking about picking the Broncos, and she's like, you can't do that. You can't go on your show. It's the playoffs. You can't put those, for my friend Greg Moyer, you can't put those vibes out there. You got to stay true to the vibes. And so I am going to pick the Bills in this one because I'm a good husband and I listen to my wife. I know what's good for me. But it's good. I'm just flipping exactly what Nick said. I got it 23-20 Bills. I think Prater comes out, hits a game winner on a game-winning drive. Because you're right. I don't think there's going to be a lot of opportunities to just rack up points in this one, and you're going to have to take some field goals when you get them.
Yeah. I think you're spot on here, and it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be super interesting to see, and I think it's gonna be a fun, entertaining, dramatic game, but not entertaining in the like shootout sense of the.
No, entertaining in the
super
like
stressful.
Yeah, I might have to hit my doctored portal up and be like something
super stressful.
Something flickered in my heart twice.
Yeah, I think like literally like super intense drama of field position mattering and each possession mattering. And that's going to make it super interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about the injuries here. Get the best questions you have into the chat. Fantastic producer Colin Ritchie is going to come up and ask us the best ones that you have in there. Make sure you shoot those in there. We'll get those going to wrap the show up here. Aaron, is there any truth to the rumor that you were invited to go work out at wide receiver this week?
Oh my God, no. Have you seen my athletic profile? Like, as bad as things are, we're not there yet. But man, somebody's got to.
So let's talk a little bit about it. I'll steal one of the questions out of the chat, just about who's going to be elevated or who's here to help. So Kay Amori, always there with us. And I know, again, bringing up some of the fun names of the past, Isaiah McKenzie, John Brown, Odell Beckham Jr., KJ Osborne, Chase Claypool, Andy Isabella. I think those are all fun on days' notice in a playoff game. That's just not realistic. Like, that's not what they're going to go with, especially because, in fairness, the top receiving players are active. Like, the guys who have gotten the most targets, like, I actually think it's since Brandon Cooks joined the team, the top 7 target receivers are active for this game. Yeah. So there are impacts, but those impacts are the run blocking wide receiver, the special teams contributing wide receiver. I'm torn on, I don't think it's a bad thing if Curtis Samuel's ready to play, because you need 4 like actual wide receivers who can play. But I guess I'm kind of reserved to the fact that maybe Christian Wilkinson being elevated to play special teams is fine. I don't know if we have enough other DBs or linebackers to just field all 11 special teams spots. I debated on a 4x4x4 offense with the 3 running backs and the fullback, 4 wide receivers, and just Kaleki Latu being active as a 4th tight end and just go 4x4. Where is your head at of who's here to help at receiver, or is anyone here to help at receiver?
I don't think anyone's here to help. I could see Hardman coming up for this game.
Well, do you then protect Shakir and Coleman for the receiving routes and have Hardman do punt returning just to reduce one more less area of stress?
Perhaps. And I think you kind of hit that on, like, field position is going to matter, right? Like, although Shakir had probably one of his better returns as a Bill against in that wild card game.
He's still ultra conservative as a returner right now, smartly protecting himself.
For sure. But this would be the time for either him to do something, or if it was Hardman back here, you are going to want to try to create some short fields for your offense against this defense. So I think that, but in terms of the actual receiving help, no, I think it is what it is. You're just going to have to uptick some of the snap counts. Yeah. This is going to be, I had a friend of mine, Tom, text me earlier that, like, this is the opportunity for Keon Coleman to just flip a narrative about him that has gone on for the past 6 months of, actually not really 6 months, because people were super high on him this summer, and is
even
really
the first couple games there was some optimism, and then once we got the late practice and the benching and all the other pieces.
So there's a story within the story here that, maybe he could flip a narrative. He's got the opportunity, and we know the NFL is all about opportunity, right? And so there'll be some opportunity there. And I think there's, as good as Surtain is, like, and Riley Moss is a good player, but he takes a lot of targets. It's that same conversation we had for years with Trey White, and whoever was lined up opposite Trey White got picked on, got targets. So I think there's an opportunity for
when you're opposite Patrick Surtain, it's just, you're going to get the ball.
Somebody's going to see the ball, and it ain't him. And so, I think you're just going to have to run with what you have. I do think there's also a part of this game that lines up well to go with some jumbo sets, to go, like Nick was saying, into some 12 personnel stuff. And that plays into probably what the Bills would want to do in this game anyway.
Yeah. Pass out of 12, pass out of 22. Give me, set it up, early down, like first down play action when you're in those jumbo sets is really impactful. And, that's where you have to hit your chunk plays to Dawson Knox, to Jackson Hawes, to, give me a Reggie Gilliam target out of the backfield like that. I think you have to put them into that kind of conflict, and then come back and pound it right at them.
Running backs were huge in that last wild card game.
Really sad. Ty Johnson was a DNP again today. I was really hoping for a limited. I would love to see him back up there, but DNP 2 days in a row, that's asking a lot.
Yeah, maybe something happens in the next couple of days. He's the kind of player where I do feel like if he in the next day or so felt better, they would roll with him, but it doesn't look good right now here. But I think there's going to be some opportunities to include James Cook, even if he's not doing what we want him to be doing on the ground. I think those linebackers, if you can get him in space on those linebackers, that's an absolutely advantageous spot for the Bills.
Yeah, and again, he's never going to be a great pass protector, but I'm fine just using him as a receiver. Like, just put him out there as a receiving weapon. Like, that was one of his biggest calling cards coming out of the draft, and we haven't really leaned into that much because of the challenge of getting him on the field because of the pass protection issues. But I'm fine with that trade-off here. Bring Dawson Knox into the backfield to protect and put Cooks out there in space. Like, I'm okay. Not consistently, but give me a couple snaps doing that just to mix it up and put somebody in conflict and give me Alex Singleton split out there because he just carries with Cooks and give me a shot. Like, let's see where that goes and what they can turn it into.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on where you think it's going, or we'll bring Colin in and ask some questions here?
Here to hell. The only last thing is one of the biggest things that was making me lean Broncos, besides the other things that I mentioned, is I'm assuming Jordan Hancock starting at safety, and that is going to keep me awake for I'm going to toss and turn in my sleep here until Sunday. I like Jordan Hancock. I'm super excited about the draft pick. I'm really excited about him as a developmental player going forward. Some of the stuff Bobby Babbage talked about when talking about him was also concerning, like how he would call on him because he didn't know how to be a professional, and that it's gotten better, but he's still not there yet. And he just looks.
It very
lost.
obviously limits what they can do in the disguise area, like how sneaky they can be, because you have to know those moments, and like as much as Poyer can sit with him and spend time with him, like you can't put his brain in there, and like in the moment, what Bishop and he can do versus what Poyer and Bishop can do is just worlds different in the disguise game.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're gonna do anything different there. Maybe like some Cam Lewis, some Hancock stuff.
Even if there's a step back of what Cam Lewis can do ability wise, does he give them more options in the actual, coverage scheme makeup? And is that worth more, even if he's more limited physically?
Yeah. And DeMar Hamlin, nobody's pounded the table for his adequacy more than I have, but that would be a tall task to come in from not playing football really at all this year with a serious pec injury to come in and play. And it doesn't sound like he's quite there yet either, but he would at least have the reps with Cole Bishop to be able to do some disguise looks and be in the right place. But that's a tall task to come in and play playoff football without having played football. So I think they're going to probably be stuck with Hancock. And that's just something that I don't know that there's an answer to, but I think it does kind of almost handcuff them in a way with some of the stuff that showed up on tape last week.
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see, and I'm hopeful that with a full week of preparation as the starter, that can be a piece of it. But we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
All right. Without further ado, we will bring up fantastic producer Colin Ritchie, and we'll ask some of the best questions out of the chat.
Oh, that was my fault. We clicked at the same time. Sorry, Colin.
That wasn't me actually. That was Greg, I think.
Look at us.
Ever just wants me to be on screen so badly.
That's right. I'm so excited to see you.
The people are calling for it.
That's it.
All right, what do we got?
So first we've got AJ asking, what are your expectations of Keon Coleman going into Saturday's game?
I am a big believer in, Greg can attest to this. I'm a big believer in setting expectations super low so that we can clear them. And then people can be like, oh, you did a great job. It's way better to set a low bar and hurdle the bar than set a high bar and hit your head off of it. And so I'm going to continue to set a low bar with Keon Coleman. I just want the effort, man. If he can come out and play with effort and make some blocks and be involved in routes that he's not even involved in, I'm going to take that as a win. And then any catches or production that he gets feels like it's just house money at this point.
It's spot on. I'll call for a second catch. He had one catch last week. I think he'll get twice as many this week.
Bold.
But I want aggressive, consistent run blocking. Be a part of why James Cook has a big game. Give me one of those plays where we're talking about his effort down the field on a big run play and why it sprung at the second level, because he was able to, get a shoulder into Hufanga, and that's what let James Cook get the cutback lane. Like, let us be pointing that out, and I'll be as excited as anything as any back shoulder catch or any, mossing somebody up the sideline. I will say, Riley Moss is probably not a terrible matchup for him, because he is a very physical, handsy guy, and is I think led the NFL in defensive penalties, for sure DPIs. So I'll take my chances there in that, maybe his biggest production is 2 DPIs, 1 catch, and a couple of good run blocks, and it all counts, and we will take it.
Another thing is Eric pointed this out in the last game with the Jacksonville and their ability to get pressures. You saw wide receivers coming into chip. I could see Keon being used in that way to just get some hands on some of these pass rushers, because their get off is so quick. I think they'll get consumed by the large size of our offensive line. Size wise matches up really would, but these guys are fast and they get off the ball fast. So even if you can just get a chip on them, I do think that Keon can be part of that.
I like him. And hey, AJ, good to see you, man.
So we've got Cespinar, Cespinar,
yeah,
something to that effect. Everyone talking about Ed, but is DeMar Hamlin a realistic possibility to play? Could you see him starting on Sunday opposite Cole Bishop?
So for sure not starting. I don't think there's any scenario where he's starting. I'm gonna trust our guy, Kyle Trimble was looking at, he wasn't even wearing the shoulder harness, which Kyle thinks would be like an absolute expectation that he would have the shoulder harness on if he was going to come back and play. So the fact that he wasn't even wearing that to him was an indicator that he wasn't quite there yet, but he wasn't wearing the non-contact jersey. We'll see where that goes, but even if he's active, I would see it as a depth piece, not stepping right in as a starter. I would be shocked.
Yeah, I don't do like source stuff, but I talk to people, and some of the stuff that I've talked to, just he's close but not there yet. And so to Greg's point, like maybe because it's an all hands on deck situation and they need some special teams help, maybe. But gosh, I don't know, man. I don't think that he's going to be ready to go. I don't think they rush him out.
All right, now we've got AJ pulling some Bills trivia for you before I have a little game I want to play with you guys. So we'll start with his question. Can you name the 4 players who have scored a touchdown against the Broncos in Bills playoff history?
Ty Johnson had that incredible catch along the back of the end zone. I remember that one.
Yeah,
James,
this is unfair because Aaron rewatched the game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Spoiler: 3 of the 4 are from last year's game.
I was going to say James
Ty
Cook
Johnson,
had one.
James Cook.
Josh Allen had one, right? No.
I'm surprised you don't. This was the biggest touchdown of the game in terms of.
Oh, Curtis Samuel. Yeah.
Curtis Samuel, 55-yard touchdown on Defensive Player of the Year, Patrick Surtain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the 4th one is a really funny answer, so I can give you guys a hint. It's from the 1991-92 AFC Championship game, and it is not an offensive player.
So I think this is Daryl Talley with an interception return.
Yeah.
It's not Daryl Talley, but it is a linebacker.
91. Who else was linebacker?
So I get it mixed because like the famous Broncos comeback has like the block field goal and like Cornelius Bennett going down the field and stuff like that, but that's not that game.
I'm trying to think.
Carlton Bailey.
It was Carlton Bailey. I just went back and looked up the play to watch it before I asked you guys that question. John Elway was trying to throw a running back screen pass, and he burst through one of the gaps that the lineman created and caught it and ran it back 11 yards for a pick 6. Bills win that game 10-7.
I was just gonna say I think it was the only touchdown that we scored. Yeah.
Well, it had to be because it was only 4 total.
Yes.
Right.
So my game for you now is there's a little bit of relevance to it too that hopefully you'll catch on to pretty quickly with at least your first answer. Quarterback postseason rushing yards all time. I've got the top 10 for you here. Give me your best shot.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen is number 1. He's got the most rushing yards of any quarterback in
That makes
playoff history. 701 rushing yards.
He's so
John
good.
Elway.
John Elway is 7th.
Oh,
You need-
seven.
That frames us a good spot. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you need 395 rushing yards to be on this list in your postseason career as a quarterback.
Is Mahomes? He's been in so many games.
Mahomes is 3rd with
Okay.
606 rushing yards.
Okay.
He's so
Okay.
sneaky. With
He's played
those-
21 games in the playoffs. So
Yeah,
that's-
it's
Yeah, the game.
That's
so
what I'm trying to
the
think of.
ga-
Is guys that have played a lot.
That's so. This is not an official guess, but that's where my head is at with Steve Young on whether he had enough games played in playoff games because of the time sitting behind Montana, and then he had an awesome run there for a while, and he did run plenty. But
Well, I'll tell you, Steve Young has played one more career playoff game than Patrick Mahomes has. He's played 22 playoff games.
It's crazy.
oh,
He
so
is-
then yes,
He is 4th with 594 rushing
really
yards.
20. That's awesome. That's I did not think it was that many. Although I guarantee some of those are as backup. But I'd be curious if he played 22 playoff games.
Yeah, I
or
don't
if
know.
some
It
of those
says,
were
I just says games played. I don't know if he started.
okay.
all of them or not.
Maybe you have to get in the game for that to count. I'd be curious. Okay.
You've got
Trying to-
3 active guys and another recent guy.
Okay.
And then 2 like different era guys.
Active. Oh, so Rodgers.
No, actually, Aaron Rodgers is 14th despite playing 23 playoff games.
Okay.
Lamar.
It's just accumulation. I was curious.
Yeah, Lamar is 2nd in just
Okay.
8 playoff games. He has 641 rushing yards.
He does that.
He does like he is.
He does that.
He should do it more, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah. So hold up.
couple-
Well, he's about to get
guesses.
to actually aggressive coach, I think, which terrifies me. I hate that.
Yeah, a couple people in the chat asking about Steve McNair. He is actually the first guy off the list. So I'll tell you that it's not Steve McNair.
And I still hold to the fact that that's my favorite Josh Allen comp is Steve McNair. I still stick to that.
Is
Yeah, one more-
Kaepernick? I saw that in the comments.
Jalen
Cap-
Hurts. Kaepernick had that crazy 170 or 180 yard game
Yeah,
against the Packers.
Kaepernick is 6th in just 6 playoff games. He had 507 rushing yards.
Yeah.
And then Jalen
Jalen
Hurts
Hurts.
is 10th. He's at 395.
Okay.
So you're missing
Okay.
one
So
more
how
active
many left?
quarterback. One more active quarterback, and then one guy from the early 2000s and one guy from way before that.
The way before that is a Fran Tarkenton.
Are we counting Philip Rivers?
No,
Well,
but
he really ran.
No, not Philip Rivers. It's not Fran Tarkenton, but similar era.
Okay.
Hmm.
Staubach.
Yes, Roger Staubach is 8th.
Okay.
All right, so one more
Mm.
active.
Early 2000s. Did Vic play enough playoff games?
He had they went on a couple of runs to NFC Championship games with the Falcons and stuff. So Vic probably would qualify if Kaepernick did.
Probably the same way that Lamar did. Or Kaepernick
Lamar
is
and
Michael Vick
Kaepernick,
the one.
just a couple big games.
Vic is down in 17th, actually. Only 6 career playoff games, 271 rushing yards. A lot of people clamoring for Alex Smith. He is 20th with 220 rushing yards in 7 games. One or two people I see have gotten the early 2000s guy. If you want to look at the chat to help out.
Oh, McNabb.
Donovan McNabb
Yeah,
is 9th.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
And now you're
Okay.
just missing number 5, who is technically still an active player, but he's not starting. He's on a roster. He's just not a starting quarterback.
Oh,
anymore.
okay. So I was going through that in my head.
Yeah, I was
like,
looking.
what-
Yeah, I was like, who's starting?
Who am I missing? Okay.
So,
Oh, Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson is 5th.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
That was fun.
Yeah, I like it.
Where do you know where Josh Allen ranks among all rushers in playoff history? I bet it's
Look it up
top.
right now.
It's probably top 25.
You said it was 700 and
700
something.
yards.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I'd be
Once you
interested.
get past the you know, like obviously Emmett and guys like that.
Yeah, Emmett Smith has 1,500 rushing yards in the playoffs.
So crazy.
Josh Allen is 21st.
He is crazy.
25. Like, all right,
So, okay. And just a rough estimate, how many
There's
rushing
no
yards?
other QBs close, right?
Right. How many rushing yards does Josh get on Saturday? Just a rough estimate, and then I'll tell you where that will move him up.
I mean, Denver's defense is tough. I'm gonna guess like 38. I don't think it's like a crazy game, like 38.
I'll say
so
some important pieces.
Yeah. Aaron, what were you gonna say?
I'll say 50 yards.
Okay. If he gets 50 rushing yards, that will put him exactly 1 yard ahead of Ray Rice and move him into 17th in playoff history for rushing yards.
That's so wild.
Oh, I hope he does that.
I mean, so how far is top 10? How far is top 10 in all-time playoff rushing yards?
Dolphins legend Larry Zonka with 891. So he's about 191 yards away from that.
So Josh Allen is going to be a top 10 rusher all time in playoff history. Like
there's only
170 yards or whatever.
Yeah, 190 he would need.
Okay. So, but I mean, like, there's plenty more playoff games coming in Josh Allen's career. Like, there's a very real chance he's going to be a top 10 rusher all time in playoff history. That's so stupid.
Yeah, there's only two active players ahead of him right now. It's Derrick Henry, who's 7th, and Saquon Barkley, who's 19th. 18 yards, and Josh Allen passes Saquon Barkley.
Crazy.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
All right. So, Colin, we had good luck asking you again last week, so we got to keep it going. What's your score prediction for this week?
I am feeling a lot better about this game than last week against Jacksonville. I was not in love with our matchup against the Jaguars and how we fit against them. I'm liking our odds a lot better against Denver. The one thing obviously is the rest differential, 13 days versus 6 days, and how banged up the Bills are. I'll still pick a Bills win. I'm going to say 27-13. Bo Nix doesn't really impress me, and I think the defense that Sean McDermott is calling, especially how they looked against Jacksonville, is going to completely shut down their offense and give us a nice double-digit victory heading into the AFC Championship game.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right, guys. Aaron, any final thoughts for the people?
No, man, just enjoy it. I don't know what's going to happen on Sunday.
Saturday.
Saturday.
I don't know what's going to happen on Sunday either. But.
I also don't know what's going to happen on Sunday. The playoffs are crazy this year. I'm just happy to have won that game. It feels like we said earlier, it feels like free money. So I'm just enjoying this ride. I love playoff football. I love that this team experiences playoff football. I was talking to Cody. His kids are Broncos fans and similar age to my kids. And just like, they don't even understand how good they have it. And I love that for this whole generation of kids that are just getting experience what this is like, because guys like us, Greg, we experienced 20 years of being jealous this time of year, of just wishing for these opportunities. And I know people say that's such a loser mentality and you can't just be happy to be here. But I am, and you can't force me to just be miserable. I'm going to enjoy every moment of this, because I remember I was that SpongeBob meme of looking out the window at everyone else being in the playoffs and having fun and doing playoff stuff. And I'm doing mock drafts and looking at, like, I'm not even touching the draft. So I'm just happy that they're doing this, that they're in playoff games. And I hope they continue to make me happy for more weeks to come.
Yeah, it's fun having everybody at work asking me about the game and how they're excited and how they're like. There are people that I work with that I know don't really care and watched it just because they knew they would be in a meeting with me and to talk about it. Like, that's fun. Like, it's fun that people are like being sucked in and pulled in to everything that's there. So can't wait. Make sure you check it out. Just some reminders for fans. Either when you're listening to this or if you're listening live, we'll find out about injury designations of things tomorrow. As you guys know, a huge friend of the network here, Sal Capaccio, will have Coach McDermott on tomorrow morning, on Thursday morning, to do the injury designations, because we have to announce those. Travel day is Friday, right, to then get in there. So we're going to hear about practice squad elevations or any other transactions on Friday, injury designations tomorrow. So we're going to get some news early, and, again, we're shorthanded. It's going to be tough, but they're going to be there and they're going to play this game and they're going to have a shot to continue on. And then if they win, they get the rest advantage over the team that they play from the winner of the Patriots and the Texans. So maybe then we'll have something flip back our direction. Looking forward to it. Again, make sure you check out the awesome show Aaron did with Cody Alexander and the time I spent with Ben Albright today, plus our show here tonight. Appreciate you guys. Give us a like, give us a rating, give us a review. Stop in the comments. Just tell us Go Bills. Let us know what you're checking out, what your score prediction is. But on behalf of fantastic producer Colin Ritchie and my lovely co-host Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You have been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.